Hey again, Salem. It's William Legault from Salem Digest, sitting here in studio at Salem Access Television on Derby Street once again with another of our 2021 municipal preliminary election interviews. And today we have from Ward 4, Graysen Martinez Ocasio, running for an open seat. It's a very interesting race. Graysen, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
We're going to jump right into the questions. We don't believe in wasting time. The people want to hear from the candidates. So this is your first run for elective office anywhere, not just in Salem, if I'm correct.
You are
What's
correct.
the motivation, Graysen? What's the motivation, Graysen? That's pretty good. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I'll tell you this. Many times I have been involved in city stuff, helping people, especially here in Salem for the past 8 years. And I have been behind the scenes. And I have, tried to keep people kind of accountable for when they say things and when they do things versus, you know how it happens. When you're elected into politics, at times you just go ahead and you change your mind, or you just, on some issues that are important to the residents. And so I also hold accountability and communication very highly. And so I contacted and have contacted through the years several of my city councilors, and a few have gotten back to me. And then it has been really late after so many attempts. So in doing this, I said to myself, perhaps, and I question, I would say, why is it that you're not getting to me? Why I blah, blah, blah. And I started thinking, perhaps I should do something like this because I would like to show a different type of candidacy and a different type of leadership, at least as it refers to me. Why do I say that? Because that's what I was taught. My parents, however, were not very happy with this idea. Immediately they said to me, don't run, you are too honest. My wife, on the other hand, said, run, we need people like you. So, run I did, and I started to think about, obviously, not only Ward 4, but, what it means to become a ward councilor, and then the effect that it has on the rest of the votes, because it really affects all of us and all of the wards in the end. And so, so I said to myself, based on the way that my dad raised me, he started his business when he was 29. He started like a little cubicle. He actually did not finish his education because he developed meningitis, and out of that he got epilepsy. So as a result, he could not pursue any more schooling after the 6th grade. So he's a big inspiration in my life in that sense. And so from that cubicle, he kept renting from different places, always increasing the size of the building, et cetera, until he purchased his jewelry store. And that was when I was turning 15. I remember like if it were today. And so there was a man having his jewelry store who continued to succeed and who built an apartment above it to create another source of revenue. And again, while still having those seizures all along. So from those humble origins that he taught us, and he learned from his mother, who used to she died when he was 15 years old. So she passed on the same teachings to him. However, it wasn't buildings. It was like from chickens to goats, from goats to pigs, from pigs to cows, and therein she kept growing and growing. But she did perish when she turned 15. He turned 15, and from there on, as I said, he wouldn't stop. Today, at 82, he still goes there every so often and still repairs watches. That inspiration I take with me, and I think that is genuine in nature. A lot of people think of me very differently here, others don't. And I always say to people, if you're gonna think about me in any specific way or listen about things in a certain way, come to me. Ask me what I think. Tell me what's on your mind. And perhaps we can start fighting to prevent disinformation, which is something that I also take very seriously. I don't want to just sit there and do the same thing. If that's the case, I would rather not run. I want to do something different. And because of that, I may not, like I said before, I may not have a political background per se, but I have a hands-on approach that I have been utilizing that experience ever since I moved to Salem. And so, in a nutshell, that's who I am. I also, and a key to my campaign, and I don't say things when I don't mean them. So, transparency, honesty, professionalism, and ethics. When I put out there that I put my signs out there, I put my signs out there and I ask for permission. Every single place that you see my signs, I ask for permission. So what I'm trying to say with that is that to me that shows the character of who I am and how I conduct myself. And I don't touch anybody else's signs either. So I think that perhaps that has answered the question.
You answered the question in depth. You went into some background there, which was nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I wanted to.
Let's jump into question 2, however. Ward 4 has a lot of single-family homes, but it also has its share of multifamily homes, especially along the entrance corridors and just off of the entrance corridors, Butler Street, for example. It shares those entrance corridors with Ward 3, which has a similar breakdown of homes. What are your thoughts on how to best mitigate the growth and development of Salem moving forward?
And you're talking about the Boston corridor right now.
I'm talking about growth in Salem, period. I just referenced Boston Street corridor as an example of the mix of housing in your ward.
Okay, so we have a lot of things that, we're talking about housing, a lot of things that I think about. So we do have a housing crisis. And then there is also the fact that what affects the housing crisis incredibly are the outdated zoning laws. To get into the housing crisis, we could use different approaches, like small-scale development that does not turn into favor the large-scale developments that we have seen in the years of development that has taken and continues to take, and that's what a lot of residents complain to me about, which is there's no end to the amount of construction that we're seeing. I myself, as I was telling you before, because of the asthma that I suffer from, I have been seeing this for the past 6 years, left, front, and right of me. I live in Boston Street. And so, so with that said, this should be tackled for me, all of this should be tackled from an omni-directional approach, perspective, with innovative solutions. And again, but those innovative solutions cannot be put into practice if there is not an updating zoning law that does not privilege or give privilege to those big pockets, but rather the smaller developments that we can put out there with single-family homes or multifamily homes. However, the corridor, the Great Fire of 1914 really affected obviously everything, because that's what, Boston Street in Main Street leading to Peabody. So there we have an area in which we have buildings on the lower level that had that commercial use, and above them residential. They're mixed use buildings. So to go to the future, we must think of the past and maintain the history and the historic nature of the buildings, the integrity of those, while building with resiliency and in protecting the integrity of our ecosystems. I am going back and forth here because there's so much to say about all of this, but I do support the idea of putting the corridor needs to be, at least it should reflect what we had before, the history, which we lost a lot because of the fire. So, so I would say that, excuse me, that that is something that it's important to me, And I think based on the conversations that I have had with Ward 4 residents, they are also interested in that lack of keeping buildings or making them into something else, something usable, housing in this case that we're speaking about, and then utilizing what we have as resources right now to make sure that, you know, something that is eco-friendly, something that is resilient could be, you know, could have a combination of components within a house. Also, in terms of homes, there are alternatives. We have tiny homes, the tiny home phenomena. We have the container homes, which could help with accessibility, with the elderly population who may not be able to afford or may not be able to have such a large footprint anymore because of accessibility issues. We have the young professionals who may not want to be spending so much money. I mean, there are the people, Salemites, on average, make $64,000 a year. If you think about that, development is either high end or low end, right? And sometimes the middle class will not be able to afford either. We need to do something about that, and fast. Because we're losing people who are leaving Salem. I've spoken to several residents in Ward 4 are leaving to Florida, are selling now because their house has been, you know, it's a good time to sell, right?
It's an excellent time
exactly.
to sell.
And so they're saying, hey, listen, I sell this house. I bought this house for $169,000, somebody told me, and I'm selling it for $600 plus. And I mean, how can you not think about doing that? Especially, you know, you go to Florida and you buy a house already for less than that. So I know that I have gone back and forth, but that's kind of like the idea that I would put out there. I want to make sure that the most important thing is that I communicate effectively with the ward. And how am I going to do that? I have been going house to house, and I have said to prospective constituents, I said, I want to put together an advisory committee. That advisory committee will be composed of people living in different sections of the ward, from different backgrounds, different political affiliations, or non-affiliated, different ages, et cetera, so that we can start letting the seats belong to who they belong, the people, and not the ego. Maybe that's an old school approach, or maybe too much of a new school approach, but I believe that we need to be sensible, not just with the environment, but specifically we need to be sensible with the people of Ward 4, who have been amazing, who have welcomed me, who have spoken to me, at times for 5 minutes, at times for 15, at times for a little longer. There's some conversations that deserve more time. I want to make sure that I bring unity. I am tired of the politics of disunion and division. And it's not something that I want to just say. Somebody has said to me constantly, you're a straight shooter. What I tell you, what you see is what you get. You don't get anything.
Let's put that back where it needs to be. So let me just jump in there, because you raised a couple of questions for me.
Okay.
Now you touched very strongly on housing and the need for housing. You started that way.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on affordable housing as it's currently defined and utilized? Is it fair? Is it actually affordable, or do changes need to be made there? Is it actually not affordable to most?
You're talking about the accessory dwelling units?
I'm talking about
everything.
Affordable housing across the board.
Across the board.
The federal definition. Is affordable housing really affordable in Salem?
No, it's not. Absolutely not.
How can we change that?
We need to, as I was saying before, we can utilize different models. Like I was saying, an omni-directional approach, which means that we can go to various areas. I was looking into, is it Calumet Street?
Calumet, yes.
Calumet, thank you. I was talking to a resident there who says that land there and they're in and nearby, it's property of the city of Salem. There are other places that are also have smaller areas that can develop single homes that are off-site framing. Off-site framing brings down the cost, which we can pass that on to homeowners when we put out this sale, right? When we sell the house. So that could be one of the ways that we could tackle that. Another way could be via the container home structures. If we wanted to do something that has a smaller footprint and is resilient, all of that resilient, because I believe that we should work with the environment in any way we can, because otherwise we're not going to have a place to leave to future generations. And so container homes or tiny homes could be developed in different areas that can be more affordable to young professionals, to, as I said, to family members. So there are ways to do this that we could do it with a smaller footprint and still accommodate more people, which is what we need, right? People are saying, I can't live here because either I have to pay $800,000 or I don't qualify for low-income housing, right? So that would be some of the ideas that I would throw out there so that we can help grow the community that we have here that is elderly and help them financially as well. And then at the same time, the younger generations, who will be the future of Salem. I mean, it is what it is. It's always like that, and that's the legacy that we could leave to them.
I see. So you also touched on the current political atmosphere.
Yeah.
The mood, the divisiveness, a lot of words that you can describe it. And everybody that's come in here that's a council candidate, I've asked them this question, maybe not precisely the same way. You got 11 members on our city council. Do you feel that those 11 members are communicating properly and effectively with each other in their conduct of city business, or is there room for improvement?
There's absolute room for improvement. I believe that is one of the things that if there's an approach, a laid-back approach, I'm here, I'm the counselor, but what I told you while I was canvassing is not what I'm going to be doing while I'm sitting here, and nor will I represent with honor. I have seen city councilors sit at the meetings and have a body language that I would consider offensive to some viewers that may not agree with what they are saying. I think that turns off voters, and I think that's why we have lower turnout, especially when there are no mayoral elections. So to me, the city council could definitely communicate better amongst themselves. But I'll tell you something, Bill. I gotta be honest. What I've seen out there so far is really deplorable at times. The conduct the situations that are happening, whether it is in Ward 4, or whether it is in Ward 7, or whether it is elsewhere. What I have experienced so far has a lot. I mean, I would never ever do or see or have ever thought that the things that people are saying about me are out there. I do not, every time that somebody asks me, who else is running, I say there are two incredibly nice people running. I say, I am one of what differentiates me from them is that I have hands-on experience of working on a lot of things related to the city. That's the only thing that I say. Yet, people come to me, voters that have my signs in front of their houses, and say, hey, so-and-so told me this and that about you. So, just like it happens out there, the behavior that you show to the residents out there, I believe will greatly impact the way they vote for you. So for me, I go nicely. If somebody has a sign from somebody else, I say, hey, how are you? I just wanted to let you know that I'm also running. I don't try to convince them otherwise. I don't try to do anything like that because, again, that goes up against my moral compass. I will not compromise that. And I just can't.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the same question applied to the communication from the mayor's office to the council. Do you
Yes.
feel that the mayor communicates clearly enough and distinctly enough to the council to foster a collaborative dialogue or not?
I think in what I have seen, and I cannot say that I have seen 100% of everything because I would be lying, and I am not going to do that. I think in the way that I have seen, I think that communication has been something that has been a little difficult for all included, to be honest with you, in their own interpersonal relationships and what we see. Remember, what we see is somebody completely different. Because right now, as a constituent, I see something on TV that at times, I mean, you say, why is this being said this way? Why is this being answered this way? Et cetera, et cetera. So to me, a little bit of, or maybe, I would say maybe for my own standards, it would be a lot. But at least for everyone else's, in the sense that maybe, I think they should collaborate more. A police officer said it to me the other day when I went to his house. He said, I'm tired of the division that I see in the city. I'm tired of, this person, either the mayor's office or the city councilors or this, that, and the other. I want unity. Can you help with that? I said, well, I am going to try to help with that. That is one of the things that I have been saying all along, which is why I'm doing the work that I'm doing right now, and trying to do this in a way that I say to my wife, if I were to die tomorrow and close my eyes for the last time, I don't want to have to say, you shouldn't have said that, or you really hurt this person, or you lied to this other person. There are things that just go to the core of a person's beliefs. And I think that the way that you conduct yourself, city council or mayor's race or whatever, tells you everything you need to know about a person. But based on that little information that I have, looking at the whole scenario, the city councilors and the mayor's office and the mayor, I would say that there could be absolute improvement.
Room for improvement.
Yes.
There's always room for improvement.
Yes.
So let's move on a little bit. We may circle back. This question may circle us back there anyway. The North River. There's a little bit of the North River that bisects Ward 4 and Ward 6. Runs right between you. It's not much of a river at that point, but it causes multiple issues. Flooding from in Peabody Square, along Commercial Street and Bridge Street. Not in your ward, but the river runs through your ward. Peabody is having made plans to develop along the riverfront on their side, and they have some room to do that. Well, we don't necessarily have that much room. But have you any thoughts on how Salem can work together with Peabody on this, an attempt to mitigate the tidal storm flooding that we get?
Yeah, Bill. I've been doing a lot of thinking when it comes to this, and I wanted to make sure that I was very aware of what was going on. And seeing everything that is being developed, especially on the Peabody side, I have noticed that they're focusing a lot, obviously, on the people, the environment, and so they're putting their money or their efforts into improving the quality of life overall. Bottom line, for instance, for me, I would say, to prevent tidal waves, to prevent flooding, we should not touch the wetlands. That is absolutely an ecosystem that the integrity of it helps us with the flooding by absorbing waters that could otherwise flood the streets even faster. Also, because they act as a sponge, they could we could widen the canal wall as well, like Peabody has done, and allow for a little bit more flow of water while putting vegetation along the lines. Why do we use the vegetations, the plants, the smaller trees? Because their roots and the nature of them, they absorb water as well, thus preventing flooding, and at the same time, what? Helping the environment, helping so that we can keep this place healthy. I was going to say, one of the things that really struck me as great, to be honest with you, was the way that Peabody is across the river walk. They're building like I would say almost some sort of a small city type of thing. And with that, I mean they are having a graffiti wall. That graffiti wall is for artists to go and express themselves. In Salem, I would propose that is done as well. We have a lot of local artists that could use that space to express themselves and to promote local arts. That's incredibly important. While we are still working on what? On the flooding. And while talking about the flooding, going back to that, slopes. The slopes to prevent the flow of water gets more and more into areas that we know are continually flooding. And so along the slopes, Peabody has also put on vegetation, which is what I had mentioned before. So I would be very supportive if my ward supports it as well, of anything that is resilient, eco-friendly, and that improves the quality of our lives. Because let's face it, with the rising sea level, waters and whatnot, this is just gonna be a mess, and in just fairly few years. So did that answer the question?
You answered the question.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go back to development a little bit, although it all ties in.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, you got the two main entrance corridors run right through Ward 4. Boston Street, then you have Highland Ave, which you share with Ward 3. But you also got Bridge Street coming in, a little bit of...
Yes.
You don't really get too much of it, but
Yeah.
it ties right in. They tie together at that one intersection. What are your thoughts on the traffic situation in Salem, how it ties into the development, how we're currently trying to mitigate it, and how should we mitigate it?
Okay. Great questions. So in Boston Street alone, we have approximately 23,000 people going through it every day. Highland Ave, I believe it's even more than that, but I don't have the exact numbers in my head right now. So, so my idea, I was thinking, and something that I would propose to the advisory committee, would be to create an express lane. I mean, to be able to move to the, to be able to do this, we need to look at the present situation, and then look at at the fact that it's only going to get worse. Why do I say that? I say that because 31% of people who use Highland Ave do so for commuting. 34% are Salem residents. 23% do so, use Highland Ave for shopping or for entertainment. What people complain about the most that I've heard is that in being a Salemite and just doing the things that they want to do and enjoy, they have to wait forever in a car just so that they can go and purchase something. So an express lane would alleviate that and alleviate other things. For instance, an express lane dedicated only, obviously, to commuting could bring revenue, tax revenue, which helps property taxes in the sense that it will not continue. In other words, we don't have to continue to up property taxes and yet get other forms of revenue. So we tax those who used that tunnel, overpass, whatever is decided by the right people, because I'm not an architect nor an engineer. And to me, that could be something that could alleviate that problem that we have right now. One of the things, while helping the economy at the same time, because of what I was saying, the tax revenue. And in terms of, but to do that, again, we have to probably go back and be in a little uncomfortable again, and in order to do that, because obviously we cannot just snap our fingers and make it happen, as I wish it could, but we can't. And so that would be something that I'd be interested in pursuing if the ward is in agreement. You know, presenting it to them so that my team and I can sit down and presenting it in a way that makes perfect sense, and that I give them the full details. Once that is currently an idea that I had in my package, but that I had not made aware, because, you know, why not wait for your show to say the things that I wanted to say?
Well, it's an interesting point you make about an express lane for commuters that are not going to be stopping within the city. Now, in Ward 4, there actually exists a bit of an express lane that a lot of commuters, but also shoppers use, and that's that Proctor Street shortcut.
Yeah.
What do you? People have been trying to fix that for years. What do you think you could do there?
Well, I'll tell you this. What I think that I can do there is what I talk to my prospective constituents about. They complain about the speeding. They complain about their cars obviously being hit, accidents. Some of them, see, this is I would want to survey the area. I would want to have a survey done of who wants what. I've heard speed bumps. Some people hate them. Other people hate them. I've heard the same posts that they put on Valley Street. People hate those. Other than a few residents, the majority of people that I spoke to on Valley Street are against those. And they say that some people say that it's uncomfortable. Other people get nervous driving through them. Other people just get mad and just have hit them, and, you know, they're not hard. You know,
they're designed to be hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But some people avoid them so much that they think that the car. A woman was telling me, I don't feel that my car fits through them, and I get nervous all the time. And she said, I don't want them. I want them off. So, Bill, I don't have a definitive answer for that, but I would say, for me in the past, what I have seen work, and some people have told me, it works for Chestnut Street.
Different street.
I know, wide and whatever, but what I'm saying is that some people say that. So to me, or other people have asked me, why don't you put one of those the digital displays that, you know, blinks red if you're going really fast or whatever? Well, that's the way, but somebody else says, yeah, Grayson, but what is that going to do? If you're going fast, you're going fast. I mean, I myself, not just there, you know, Colby Street.
Yep.
I have seen the accidents. I went and photographed the wreckage that was still left there behind of someone who was just, as I was there, I was just super careful because cars got so close, and the residents who live in the nearby, at the curve, were complaining about that as well. The person who lives, Raymond, who lives at down when you go to Colby Street and then there's a stop sign, he said everyone goes flying by. They don't do this. They don't follow the stop sign. However, what happens with the stop sign? The stop sign is partially covered by a tree. People don't see it, but if you're a Salem resident, you do know that there's a stop sign there. So, you know, we need to be more stringent in the way that we're seeing this. For instance, so people are breaking the law by not stopping. Maybe let's have some units patrol the area a little bit more. I don't want to tax the efforts that the police has and are doing right now, but I'm saying that they have told me, the residents themselves have said, there was a police officer here for a couple of days and things got better. Once that police officer was gone, it went back to the same thing. So again, do I have a definitive answer for that? None whatsoever that is definitive. I have a lot of things that I would like to see, but maybe what it takes is an implementation of one and the other. I don't know yet. And I would like to speak to people who are professionals on not only that, but, you know, coding and whatever. I wanted to say one thing so that you know this, Bill. I have residents already since March contacting me about the Gallows Hill Park, about accessibility issues, elderly residents, people who are disabled, who would like to be walking in the area, but can't. I've been doing all of that right now. People are contacting me, even though I am not their current city councilor. However, they feel comfortable enough to come to me, and I like that. I like the fact that although it has added to my campaigning and my canvassing in putting this together, I like that. And I digress, but just to the point that you know that I have my ears open to the suggestions, not only of the residents, but also of the professionals who can make something happen so that we don't get, so that the dogs are not being killed, so that the cars are not being hit, so that you're not feeling that you are running, having your life at peril, because there's so much speeding. There has to be consequences, Bill,
Fair enough.
to behaviors.
Well, I'm going to say something to you right now that's going to surprise you.
What is it?
We just passed up 35 minutes of time.
No.
This is it.
Oh my God.
Your moment in the sun has passed.
I was starting to have fun.
I appreciate you coming in, Graysen. Thank you very much for playing along. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Bill, Salem Digest, here at Salem Access Television on Derby Street with Graysen Martinez Ocasio, one of the 3 candidates in Ward 4 for that open seat. We wish you the best of luck. And guys, get out to vote on the 14th of September. It's the preliminary election. All elections are important. This one is no exception. I'll be voting, and I want to see you there too. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.